Welcome to another episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. I'm Jordan.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Matt.
So first things first, I got to ask, who do you have winning it all? Who's winning March Madness?
We were just talking about it right before we started recording. I've got Houston. I think it's going to be Houston, Alabama in the championship, and that is going to be an insane game. But I'm going to go Houston by 6 in the championship game.
All right, Matt, how about you?
Full disclosure, I don't follow college basketball probably as much as most any other sports person. So I will say that, but it's easy to pick when you have the seeds right there. But I know Houston has been good the last couple of years. They've made some semi-decent runs, so I picked Houston to win. But I just did this last night. I forgot who I have them playing against. I don't even know who's in the East.
I want to say it's like Purdue or someone, or Bama, or one of them.
It wasn't either of those two teams. I don't know who I picked, but anyway, I have Houston winning.
All right. Well, I gotta say we're very high on Houston. I don't have Houston winning. I actually have them losing in the national championship to Arizona. So
okay,
Wildcats taking it. It's been Arizona's the last West Coast team to win the NCAA tournament. It's time to get a West Coast team with a national title again. Give me the Wildcats over Houston. I think I said 72-66. So should have a good one. But hey, we've had a week of sports. I won't say it's a great week of sports because there haven't been many sports being played this week with the storms hitting through. But before we get into all that, how's everyone's weekend? Everyone enjoy themselves?
Yeah, everything was good for me. Worked a little yesterday, and one of my friends is a firefighter, so I took him out to Top Golf with him and his captain, and so that was pretty fun. And yeah, pretty good weekend.
All right, awesome. What about you, Matt? How was your weekend?
Yeah, good weekend. My son graduated from the Correctional Officer Academy, so he started work today in the prison. So that was good. And Saturday, I needed you, Jordan. I was at a rugby match and I was trying to figure out what was going on. Could have asked a few questions to you, but
I can answer all rugby related questions if needed. So, who won your match? I guess we're getting into that this week.
What's this?
Are we getting into that in the episode?
Yeah, that's part of the show.
All right. Hey, no spoilers then. No spoilers. I'll say my weekend was fairly laid back. I will get into my stuff in a minute with the basketball, but also we found out local high schools start taking your pick, but the future starting point guard of your girls basketball team will be enrolling in 2037. So I'm having a girl dad. So looking forward to that. Can't wait to meet her this September. So excited for that. But like I said, little future basketball, softball star. We'll see. So looking forward to that. Happy about that. But we've had a pretty busy we've had some big sports going on. I know that basketball for me was still wrapping up with Colfax in the state championship. We got spring kind of starting. Schedules are a little wild, a little wonky. We haven't gotten to hit as many as we've wanted. I actually have a preview for a team coming out today that's starting league in softball this week, and they haven't played a game yet. So, I mean, hey, it's the times we're living in right now with this weather. Aaron, let's start with you. Where were you at this week?
Yeah, so I said last week on the show I would be at anywhere between 0 and 4 events depending on the weather, and I was at 1. So I'll get into that. On Tuesday, I was at West Park for softball against 12 Bridges. West Park went up 1-0 early in the first inning, but 12 Bridges got the bases loaded in the second, but unfortunately stranded their runners, and the Panthers, in return, in the bottom of the inning, put up 8 runs and really never looked back. Senior Mia Kenzie went 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs and 4 runs scored. Sophomore Sadie Stout 3 of 3 with 5 RBIs and a double. West Park won 17-3. The Rhinos scored late in the 5th inning with RBIs coming from Kelsey Curlin and Callie Kosmides. But the thing that's interesting about West Park, they only had 1 win last season in their first year as a varsity program. They were 1-17, I believe, and that 1 win came against 12 Bridges. Even though 12 Bridges was JV, they played up for a varsity game that game, and that was an 11-10 game this year, way different. So West Park, they look pretty good. I'm interested to see what they can do. I know that they have some more depth in each position. They have some freshmen out there that are throwing on the mound, so they have more depth on that front. So definitely going to keep my eyes on them, see what they're able to do with first-year seniors. Even though they only have 2 seniors, they're a really young team still, so that'll be an interesting one to watch. Since that was the only game I was at, I did go watch the Colfax State Championship game, Jordan, with you on Friday, but I'll let you talk about that. I do want to get into some baseball in general. Even though I haven't been to a game yet, I've been kind of keeping track on Max Preps and keeping track with some other stuff that I've read and I've seen. So I'm just going to kind of hit a couple things for each team real quick, and then I'll pass it back to you guys before I get into softball later. So Rockland, they have sophomore. I'm going to butcher this name. I'm going to learn how to say these names eventually. Troy Yoltzen, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. He has
Olsen. It's Olsen.
Olsen.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for the help on that. I appreciate that. He has six RBIs, a 455 average, 1-0 on the mound. He's actually committed to Arizona. I know that there was a couple sophomores I had last year that were already verbally committed. I don't think you can actually sign until your junior year, but he's already verbally committed to Arizona, so that's huge props to him. So that's Rockland. Whitney, they're basically returning nearly their entire roster from the section title squad last year, and they were also the league champions of the SFL. They're 3-1 after a win against Yuba City. The pitching duo of Jace Gilmore and I believe sophomore Corden Petty is going to be very tough for opposing teams. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Wildcats are able to do. I think they'll be one of the best teams in the area this year again. Granite Bay 2-1. They're also coming off of a section title. Chase Bentley, who's a sophomore, he was a great pitcher last year as a freshman. I expect him to be the leader on the mound this year for them. Very solid, no runs allowed in 5 innings with 8 strikeouts in the first game. He also has 3 RBIs, so they're looking pretty solid. Wood Creek, tons of talent. I think Wood Creek and Whitney, at least in my opinion, are going to be the top 2 teams to watch in the area. Wood Creek, league champions last year, but got upset in the first round, kind of like Ponderosa basketball did last year. Wood Creek was the top seed. They have tons of talent, though, returning, such as Connor Barth, who's a junior. He has a 7.14 average thus far, 5 of 7 at the plate. They have John Handy, who transferred over from Placer. They have Wyatt Harris, who hit a grand slam in the first game of the season. Austin Nye on the mound, and just more and more talent from there. I could go on, but yeah, watch out for the Timberwolves. They're going to be a team to watch this year. And then finally, another team I think to watch out for, West Park. I think they only had 5 wins total last season. It's the same thing with softball. They're so much better this year than that. They're so much better in baseball. They're already 4-0 to start off. They're led by senior Tyler Hutchinson with the 462 average. So, Jordan, I'm sure, I don't know if you'll have any baseball to talk about, but I think the FVL, we would both agree, is going to be pretty loaded with talent this year.
Yeah, I've got some baseball I'm going to hit on, but I'll give my little preview with the FEL is I know, top 4 make it to the playoffs, and I believe there are some at-large bids. Just don't be surprised. There's 6 teams in the FEL. Don't be surprised to see 5 or 6 playoff teams come out of that league.
I completely agree.
But Matt, thrown over to you, Matt. Where were you at this week?
I last Monday is a long time ago now, but I went out and checked Vista softball, and I believe it was their second game of the year. This team won the D3 title last year. They only lose 3 players off that team, one of which was their shortstop and leadoff hitter, who I believe is at Arizona, Taylor Beal. Big loss there, and then they also lost second baseman Ruby Kelly and catcher Sammy Smith, but everyone else is back, including all 3 pitchers. And 4 of their top 6 hitters, Charlize Kai and Olivia Manchester, will do a bulk of the pitching this year. And their other pitchers, Annabella Harris and Kai and Manchester, also make up 4 of their top 6 hitters, along with power hitters Riley Dossie and Morgan Sweet. So a lot of talent coming back for this team. And Coach Julie Lazar said that winning the title last year has just made them hungry to get back again, and she believes they have the talent and skill to do it. So a lot of good things going for the Eagles, and they won that game last Monday against Bella Vista 4-0. All 4 runs and 5 of their 8 hits came in the 3rd inning when the first 3 batters got on base, and then Morgan Sweet hit a grand slam for the 4-0 victory. But nice start for the Eagles. And from there, I went over and checked out their varsity boys lacrosse team that was at Granite Bay. Last year, Vista had never beaten Granite Bay until last year. The away game at Granite Bay, Vista won that game, and they were back there last Monday for their trip to Granite Bay. And Coach Mike Messersmith was concerned. He said, "I hate playing here because for the first 5 years he went there, he never won a game until last year, and he was still a bit anxious about the game last week. But his team came to play. I believe the score was 8-1. Vista jumped all over Granite Bay in the first quarter or first period, 8-1. They went on to win 17-7. So it was a big victory for Vista. Tristan Sackman had 6 goals and 1 assist, and Max Voda had 5 goals for the Eagles. So that was their start. Good start for the Eagles. Last Wednesday, another Vista game. Just as it happened, Folsom couldn't line up with any Folsom games last week, so Vista Del Lago got the coverage. They had a volleyball game at home against Del Campo. Last year, the Eagles made it to the D2 section championship game against Ponderosa. Excuse me, and lost in 3. This year, unlikely to get that far. They lost a lot of seniors last year. They only have 2 seniors coming back, so it's a rebuilding year for the Eagles. Luckily, they have Jesse Laschuk, who Vista coach James Fanchier says is one of the top outside hitters in the area, in his opinion. So, there's no question if they can get him the ball, they're gonna win some games. But, with some young players, and if you don't get good passes, you don't get good sets, it's going to be hard to get on the ball sometimes. So, not going to be a given for the Eagles this year. He said, Fanchier said, if they have the potential for some nice growth. If they see that, they can, finish in the top 3 in the league. But it could be a long season for them. Anyway, last week they opened up against El Camino, who they tied last year for the league title in the Capital Athletic League, and they got off to a slow start and lost the first set, 25-18, but then rebounded and won the next 3 all by the same score, 25-20. So they got a nice win there. And then Friday they turned around and lost to Delaware 3 straight at home at Vista's home. I don't know how good on Delaware is in volleyball, but I think they're off to a pretty decent start from what I've seen.
I think they're like 14-4 right now, something like that.
Oh my gosh! Okay, do you want me to talk about the rugby match? Or you have something you want to say first, or
I'll go. How about I go in? I'll go into my Saturday with the I'll go into Colfax basketball's run, then we'll kind of bring it back around if you're cool with that.
That's fine.
So my week, I was only able to hit a few games this week. It started on Tuesday. I was at the NorCal title for Colfax girls basketball, and that was just a fantastic game, actually. It was Colfax and Carruthers. I'll start with this. Carruthers did a fantastic job. They were the 9 seed, which means to get to the NorCal title, they had to win road games in every single playoff game. And going on the road when you get into the state tournament is not easy. So, the fact that they were able to make it to the NorCal title was impressive to me. It was a great game. I think the entire town of Colfax was there. I don't think I've seen that building that loud all year. And, just kind of some of the stories with this, there was a few girls on Colfax that were 4-year varsity starters. They lost the NorCal title game as freshmen. They won it as seniors. It was awesome to get to see that. Also, 34th win for Colfax was the program record, and it was 5th all-time in the state. So, pretty cool. Obviously tied with a few teams. Hey, pretty cool to have that under their belt. Colfax was up by 1 at half, and then Carruthers kind of stormed out and took a lead. I think they got up to like a 6 or 7 point lead. And then Colfax kind of came back. So Colfax, I think they trailed at some point in every single game in this tournament, except for the NorCal quarterfinals against Lassen. And with just over 2 minutes left, Jade Bittner hits a 3-pointer, left that stadium. I mean, I said in the story, I think it sounded like a Metallica concert in there. I mean, you just couldn't hear a thing. And then Carruthers ends up tying it 47-47. Then Macy Hyman sinks 2 free throws for Colfax. They made a free throw somewhere down this stretch, but with 49 seconds left, Hyman sinks 2 free throws, makes it 50-47. Carruthers goes down, they make a layup, and then Colfax doesn't convert on this next possession. So Carruthers actually has the ball with, essentially, I think there was a like a 15-second difference between the shot and game clock or something like that. So they have a shot to go down, take the lead, and, give Colfax the ball for one last shot, but, leave them 10-15 seconds to do it. But instead, with a few seconds left on the shot clock, they put one up, and Macy Hyman actually blocks it. Juliet James gets a rebound and then tosses it off to Gabby Bittner, who is fouled. And then anyway, she converts 1 of 2 free throw attempts. Carruthers ends up turning the ball over. And then Laurelyn Massick goes 2 for 2 from the line to put the game away. Makes it 53-49. Carruthers hit a 3 as time ran out, but it, too little, too late. You hit a 3, but you needed 4. Oh, Colfax wins 53-52. Juliet James, sophomore center, she was incredible. 16 points, 5 of 6 in free throws in the fourth quarter. And I felt like the Blue Raiders just didn't have an answer for her in the post. I don't see a full number of rebounds that she had, but it was impressive. And then, Colfax takes a 22-game winning streak into the state championship game at Golden One Center where they meet Los Osos. So I got a little bit of a runny nose. I'm getting over a cold that I had last week. But Colfax ends up running into Los Osos in the state championship. And, this one, it's tough. It's a school of 3,000 against a school of 640. Los Osos actually has 1,000 more students than Colfax has residents. But hey, that's the D3 championship. We'll get into competitive equity talk. That's a story for another time. I've got a column about that coming out this week. Colfax actually hung around for 3 quarters. They were tied after 1. Los Osos kind of pulled away in the third quarter, I believe, or second quarter. They pulled out to like a 7-point lead. Colfax was sticking around. It was still close heading into the fourth, and then Los Osos just kind of put the game away. It was just, a better team. Their freshman guard had 30 points. Incredible performance for her, 11 of 14 shooting. But, Colfax just is tough as it is to lose that one. You made it to state for the first time in 25 years. I mean, you go there, you play a buzzsaw who beat the D1 SoCal girls basketball champion earlier in the season. So how they were in D3 is beyond me, but their only 2 league losses were the number 6 team in the nation. So, I mean, the fact that Colfax went in there and they stood tall, kudos to them. It was impressive. And then, the other thing that I found was really cool about it was the reception they got from the town and this reaction of the coach after the game. She said, like, these girls, when you grow up in Colfax, the little girls idolize the players on the girls basketball team and see what they're doing. And she goes, these girls grew up idolizing, the teams in 2000. And she's like, now they're the team that the little girls are idolizing. And when people look up at Colfax in 25 years, their NorCal championship banner is going to be the one hanging up there. So I thought it was really cool that she mentioned, like, hey, we didn't win the state title, but, this is a team this is one of the best teams to ever come through this school. And, out of all the schools in California, say that you were playing the last game of the year, essentially. I mean, that's, nothing to hang your hat on. Then I was actually talking to a media member there, and they said one thing they love about California is, in Missouri or in Texas or Montana, if you lose a state championship, you're just a state runner-up. But in California, if you lose a state championship, you're still the NorCal champion or the SoCal champion. And I think that's kind of something worth noting, too. I think that's a cool thing because a NorCal championship is let's face it, that's probably a state championship in almost every other state in the country, except maybe 1 or 2. So, impressive year for Colfax. Didn't end the way they'd like it to, but 34-3, I mean, nothing to scoff at. Great year for the Falcons.
Hey, Jordan, how big is Colfax gym? How many did he seat, do you know?
I got to look at the actual number. I think the fire marshal doesn't recommend it goes over 1,000. That being said, don't tell the fire marshal how many people were at that game because I think it was definitely more than 1,000. I mean, there were times where it was kind of lining up it was starting to line up a little bit on the baselines. And then another shout out I wanted to give, this is a very random one, but I don't know if you guys have watched the World Baseball Classic at all yet that's been going on. I was watching the USA Great Britain game the other day. Just want to say still undefeated against Great Britain, goes back to 1776. So big win for them there. But they panned to the crowd and there was a kid there him and his dad were wearing a full American flag like suit, like the coat and pants, and on his head was a Rockland High School baseball hat. It was very clear as day Rockland. You saw like the R with the lightning bolt on it, 100% Rockland. Can't mistake it for anyone else. And I've seen them play in that hat because I've seen some pictures of it. We have a family friend who's son plays for Rockland. So shout out to you, mystery Rockland High School baseball player, for showing your patriotism.
Hey, one other thing I wanted to say about this Colfax, and it's really to you, Jordan, just as someone who's been around a little bit longer than you and has covered, Oak Ridge girls and boys winning state championships. Um, those memories are going to, you're going to remember those games that you covered, and you're going to remember those kids, for a long time, if not forever. I mean, I can't remember specifics, but I remember just the players on the team and the games they played. And I know Oak Ridge had a great, I don't know if there's a NorCal, they might have been the NorCal semifinal down in San Ramon Valley High School. For the boys when they played in 2005, and that was just, I mean, the gym was packed and it was such a close game. It went down to the very end. It was, I can't remember specific plays, but I just know it was like one of those last second wins. It was so exciting. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. So I'm glad that you got to experience this.
Oh, it was awesome to get to cover them on this run. They were so fun to watch. There's girls that are going to be making some noise at the next level too. Just awesome job. And also, I got to ask, that Oak Ridge team, was that with Ryan Anderson on it?
That was the team with Ryan Anderson, yes.
It helps having an NBA player, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, but hey, Aaron, do you have any more for the second half? I know it was a slow week for you. Are we going over to rugby?
Well, I was just going to touch on softball if I could. Real quick.
Perfect. Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so just some softball from my area. Just a couple of notes I have on a few teams. Rockland, they've got a really solid freshman. Savannah Lorenzi's batting .500 with 4 home runs and 9 RBIs as a freshman, so very impressive. Junior Sydney Barker's also hitting the ball really well. And then Ava Messina has been solid on the mound. So I think Rockland will still be a pretty solid team. I know that they lost a couple big hitters, and they lost, I think, their best pitcher from last year. I'm blanking on the name right now, but I still think that they'll be a solid team. Whitney, they're returning a lot of talent. Maya Flint and Sarah O'Day, solid at the plate. Hannah Duncan, top pitcher on the mound. She pitched a complete game win over Elk Grove. I think she only gave up like 1 hit, and she had like 8 strikeouts or something like that. So Whitney should be pretty solid. I mean, the SFLs, once again, we get into it every week. They're so strong in every single sport. And I'm getting into another SFL team, but Granite Bay, they're 2-2, led by senior Avery Saba on the mound. Also, Leilani Terrazas, who I also believe is a freshman, 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. So just really solid in the SFL. CVC, I don't really have any stats on Wood Creek yet. They lost their first game, but they have Malia Larson, who I know was their top pitcher last year, and she's a senior this year. So I would expect that she's going to be having a decent season on the mound. So I'd watch out for that name. Roseville, while they're 0-2, Bella Tonso and Genevieve Goldsworth have been some top hitters for them. Goldsworth was in the starting lineup last year and played pretty well. I'm expecting her to step up and kind of help lead that team again this year. So just a few things I wanted to touch on softball.
All right, I like it. And Matt, you were in unfamiliar territory, I guess, this week, covering some rugby. So hey, talk to me about what you saw, and I'll put on my rugby analyst hat, and we'll have a talk.
Well, I got an email from a parent who there's half dozen Vista kids. This is all the kids who play on the Motherlode rugby team, which started in the mid 90s as Oak Ridge High's first rugby team, and then in the early 2000s it switched from Oak Ridge Rugby to Motherlode Rugby Club. So it's been that ever since. Anyway, there's 5 or 6 Vista kids that play on this varsity team, and one of course was his son. He just wanted to get some, like to see some publicity about it. So I wrote a little pre-story as best I could, and then I went up. They had their home match on Saturday. They played Ponderosa High School. I went up there, and they were playing a team, the San Ramon Wolverines. So I haven't been to a lacrosse match. I don't know if I call it matches or games or what, but I haven't been to one of those at least 5 years. It's been quite a while. So I'm like, all right, I'll go up and check one out. On the way to drive up there is like, drizzling and very overcast. And when I got to Ponderosa, though, there's a heavy fog sitting almost on the field. And I got there, late, I'd say halfway through the second half of the JV game. And, you couldn't see much at all. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, and I was, having a photographer there. I'm like, how are we going to get pictures? I mean, this is going to be, But right, as the varsity game got closer to start, the fog lifted thankfully, so made it easier to see. But anyway, it was a entertaining match. I mean, it was pretty low scoring early, but then the points started coming a little bit more in the second half. But I can't sit here and give you an analysis on it, but Mellowload scored first, and then I'm sorry, the Wolverines scored first. Then Mellowload scored 2 tries, and then which is like a touchdown, and then but and then Wolverines scored again, so the score at half was 14-14. So competitive game. And then now let me tell you, this San Mateo team, they had a lot more players on their bench, and they look a little bit bigger in size. So I thought, guys get dinged up in rugby probably more so than any other sport. So there's guys, whatever, whether it's a head injury or whatever, the injury is a lot more prominent. And Motherload only had 2 or 3 subs, and they had 2 or 3 guys hurt in the first half. Not that they didn't come back, but they're still 100%. And I'm thinking, 14-14, that doesn't sound like a safe lead when you have a small bench against a bigger team. So the second half, Motherload turned it on early, and they got up to like a 31-14. I think they might have shut them out 31. Got up to 31 points, but then the Wolverines came back and scored 2 late tries, and they needed 1 more. There's probably about 3 minutes to go, and Motherload held them off. So the final score was 31-26. But if that game was any longer, Motherload probably would have been on the losing end of it. But they held on for the win. Bryn Jones had 1 try, and he did all their kicking. So he had 4 extra point kicks and had a field goal. So he scored 16 out of 31 points. And then Caleb Smithy had 2 tries, and then Aiden Alexander had 1 try for Motherload. The varsity team is now 2-2 in the season, and they've got games down the road here against Jesuit and Granite Bay, who, obviously are defending national champs. So anyway, I just wanted to hit a rugby game just for something different, and because I got this email from the parents. So it was a nice time.
Yeah, Jordan, I was gonna just mention I saw Granite Bay beat Gonzaga over the weekend. I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know. I know that obviously they won the national title, and I know they were number 1 ranked last year. Do you know if they're still number 1 ranked right now?
They're still number 1 ranked as last I saw, and then I got to look at Gonzaga's rankings. So the way it works is they do the club rankings and the school rankings. Gonzaga is a school; they're right up there with Jesuit. Usually, Gonzaga or Jesuit is the number 1 school team in the country, and then Granite Bay is usually right up there with the top club teams in the country. Motherlode's had a few teams that are up there too. But when I was a senior in high school and we went back to nationals, the national championship was actually it was right after one of our games, and Jesuit was playing in the national championship. So we went over to watch it, and it was Gonzaga versus Jesuit in the national championship. And Gonzaga won to break Jesuit, I think, their 4th straight national title streak my senior year. So Gonzaga is a program that's always up there. I don't know the final score of the game, but I think Granite Bay did beat them.
They did. I was actually just reading about it while Matt was talking about the Motherload game. I think it was tied 21-21, and then Granite Bay scored 3 tries in the last 15 or 20 minutes to win the game, I believe. So
yeah, that's that's a great matchup for them, a great battle. They're going to be battle tested, and I know they're going to Ireland over a spring break for a tour. And they're going to be playing the big Irish boys. They
did that last year too.
This I know when American teams tend to go over to Ireland, American teams tend to get very humbled when they go play there. But Granite Bay is going to be a team that's going to be solid. I'm sure them, Jesuit and Motherload are probably going to be the top 3 Sacramento area clubs. But Matt, to your point, I know you said San Ramon had the bigger team. We used to always have the running joke whenever we played one of those big Bay Area teams where you get a lot of the polys and whatnot, where we said, we hated playing them because we knew we were the better team in high school and we would beat them, 42-10 or whatever, but it would always be 10-10 at halftime and everyone would be beat up, but then they would just be too winded in the second half. But we're like, the first 40 minutes are the worst 40 minutes of your life. Those guys can hit, and they are physical and they are strong. And it's
Motherload most of Motherload's tries, what are they, 4 or 5 tries were kind of outside runs by the smaller guys.
Yeah.
And San Mateo, the Wolverines, they had Motherlode had trouble tackling their big guys. Like they were just kind of just
Yeah,
covered
I
up the ball.
imagine they were putting it right up the middle on.
Yeah, so, but one thing I will say is, again, I said if the game went longer, Motherlode might not have won, but also, I think two of Motherlode's tries were kind of like almost like interceptions in football. Like the Wolverines were trying to pitch the ball a teammate, and the Motherlode guy just kind of picked it off and ran it in. So,
Yeah.
Motherlode was, I would say, I don't want to say they're lucky. I mean, they won the game, it's fair and square, but had they had to work harder to score it, they might not have won. I mean, that was kind of a gift. I think the last try, which turned out to be the game winner, was one of those where they just pitched it, they kind of intercepted it and ran. So,
Yeah.
Whoop, hello.
Nope. And that's not ceiling, everyone. So yeah, well, I mean, hey, back to one of the lesser physical games of what we cover. The only other game I hit this week, it was Placer in Roseville baseball. They somehow got this game in on Tuesday, and I guess I'll preface it with saying this little broad announcement to schools with the late start times and everything going on. If you're going to be playing games at 3:30, you need to open up your campus so that reporters and people like that, and officials and everything, can get on campus before these games start. Otherwise, if you're going to do it, it's going to make it difficult for us to cover them, and a lot of people just aren't going to want to deal with it. So, broad announcement to the school, not saying who it was, anything like that, but I've seen a few people talking about it too. Of it's difficult with spring sports and these later school start times because we can't necessarily get on campus. That being said, it was two of the oldest high schools in action Tuesday afternoon in this. It was cold weather, nasty clouds, but somehow it stayed dry. I was only able to stay for a few innings of this game, and I had to go up to Colfax for the NorCal final. But, despite the cold weather, the bats were hot early in the game. Placer came out in the first inning, solo home run by Cohen Meyer. I'll say this, actually, it was one of the most interesting things. Cohen Meyer was watching Roseville's pitcher warm up, and I won't say the exact quote he said because you can't repeat it on this show, but it essentially was, "I'm going to hit the ball very well today," is a nice way to say it. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. I was standing near the dugout taking pictures, and Cohen Meyer, first two at bats before I left, was 2 for 2 with 2 home runs to the exact same spot. So, hey, you know what? You called your shot and you did it. But it was Roseville that was the winning team in this one. They ended up winning 6-4. The small ball was kind of the name of their game. They stole 5 bases in it, 2 of them by Brandon Graydon. They also had a few bunts that kind of had Placer looking flustered. I'll say this, they were hits, but the bunts were, a lot of it was great bunting by Roseville. Credit where credit is due. They also definitely caught Placer off guard a lot. I don't think Placer's really gotten to practice a ton of bunt defense or seen a ton of bunting. And, Aaron, I think you can attest to it in the FVL. We've seen, I think, a lot more, I feel like it's what you'd see in the major leagues, where I feel like you see a lot more power and a lot more pitching. So small ball, I don't really think I've seen play in the FVL, at least not any of last year. And Placer looked a little flustered in that. So, Roseville took advantage of it, and they put up 3 runs in the first inning. Actually, I think they might have put up 4 in the first. They put up another one in the second, and then it was pretty quiet. Both teams kind of made some pitching changes, and the pitching really took them down. Brandon Graydon actually earned the win for Roseville. Jay Tooker started the game with 3 innings, but Graydon earned the win. He tossed the final 4 innings. He only allowed 1 hit and struck out 5. Jack Williamson was a starter for Placer. He struggled in his varsity debut, only 2 innings on the mound, surrendered 5 runs. Only 3 of them were earned on 5 hits. Hayden Bailey pitched 4 innings in relief, and he allowed just 1 run on 3 hits. So the bullpen did well, but, it was just a tough outing for the starters. And Roseville was impressive. Their fielding was good. They were solid. Like I said, small ball is someone who's a baseball fan, I really can appreciate a team that doesn't just win with the long ball, or, doesn't just win with, a guy on second, you hit one to center. Like I like watching a team bunt guys over. I like watching, stealing bases and trying to get in the pitcher's head.
I agree.
I'm nervous. I mean, to me, that's what baseball is. And hey, it's why I love the high school game, because we don't have a pitch clock or anything like that. And, it was fun to watch. It was one of those, like, we talked about how, high school baseball, when you get a blowout game, it can be tough. But when you get a good high school baseball game, I mean, it's awesome. And it was one of those where it was almost like you just sitting back and being like, man, this is nice. Baseball is back. So great game. Two very good teams, two teams I would not be surprised to be, playoff teams. Roseville might be in a tough draw in D2. Just if they can get down to D3, maybe, but tough league with Wood Creek there. And
They were
Antelope's
D3
always
last
good.
year for, I don't know what they'd be this year, but they were D3 last year for playoffs because I know that they were in the same bracket as Lincoln. I want to say they won their first round playoff game and lost their second. One thing, just real quick, I was just going to add to what you're saying is Graydon, not only I think has he been the leader on the mound so far and he stole a couple bases in that game. I think last I checked, at least so far this season, I think he's second on the team in batting average and is leading in RBIs. It's just amazing to see like these star football kids now being able to translate transfer over their talent to another sport. It's the same thing for 12 Bridges boys volleyball. Whit Cruz and Elijah Noller, like they're two of their three leading players over there, and they're 3-1 to start the season. It's just impressive to see kids who are huge football guys be able to excel and compete so well in another sport too.
Absolutely. And, I know we didn't have a ton of sports really happening this week, but I got to say for some athletes that stood out, Cohen Myers got to be up there, he was 2 for 3, I think, in that game. He was 2 for 3 in the opening game. His first pitch of the season, actually, he was about 5 feet from going yard to dead center at Placer High. So the Sac State commit is making the Hornets look pretty smart about why they signed him right now. So solid shortstop there for Placer. He's going to be fun to watch this year. And then Juliet James, really came out of nowhere. She was always a solid player for them, but her stats really started popping off. She always was doing kind of the nitty gritty and was in there battling in the trenches and in the post for Colfax girls basketball. But hey, coming up big with points. She was the leading scorer in the state championship as well with 16. So 32 points in the NorCal title and state championship combined as a sophomore. That's nothing to scoff at. So I gotta say, those are the two that stood out to me the most. Aaron, what about you? Was there anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, so I finally I took a look at some track and field for both Lincoln, Ball Bridges, and then all of my South Placer teams. And I actually want to start with South Placer this week. And the reason I want to do that is Giselle Kirchner from Rockland. She's one of the top hurdlers in the state. I actually didn't see what she did in the finals, but I know that she competed in some, I want to say, like, national event in a 60-meter or 80-meter hurdles, and she finished third in the trials. And I have to see what she finished at in the finals. But at least at the high school level, in the first 2 meets of the season, which was the Glenpool Invitational at Oakmont, and then the first SFL meet at Rockland High, she finished first in the 100-meter and 300-meter races. She made it to state last year. She was at another huge national event that I'm blanking on. It was at Sac State last year. I want to say in July or August, but she's one of the top hurdlers in the state. I'm expecting her to make it there again. And honestly, I think out of the entire area, if there's anybody that has as good of a shot at winning a state championship in any event, it's her. So keep that name on your list, but she's my athlete of the week this week for South Placer. For Lincoln area, 12 Bridges junior Nate Shearing got personal records in the shot put and the discus throws at the first PVL meet of the season, and he won the discus in that same meet with a total of 124 feet and 2 inches. And I believe in the discus last year he made it to sections. I'm going to be interested to see if he can make it in both events this year back to sections and maybe potentially have a shot at making it to state. So those are my 2 athletes of the week. All
right, impressive. And Matt, how about you? What were some of the best performances you saw this week?
Well, Tristan Sackman against Granite Bay, the lacrosse, 6 goals, 1 assist, and he was fired up, and he's got one of the best shots, according to Coach Mike Spencer-Smith. I mean, he's all offense, all shooting. He's got a really good shot. I asked Tristan about his shot, and he goes, "I just try to shoot as hard as I can wherever the goalie's not standing," which I thought was kind of funny. But anyway, yeah. So 6 goals, 1 assist through 4 games this season. He's got 15 goals, so he's going on. He's gonna have a good year.
All right, and I like it. And hey, we're gonna have some more storms this week, but let's just kind of, where are you guys hoping we can have some coverage at?
So tonight I am, because they can play in the rain. The only reason they didn't play on Friday is because I think it would have been hard for Roseville to get there, just because of I think there was also threats of thunderstorms and lightning. I think they don't play in that. But Lincoln High is going to be playing their first lacrosse game in history tonight in the rain against Nevada Union. Off the top of my head, they have 8 football players and a soccer player on the team. It may be more than that, though. I'll have to check with Coach Morris later tonight. But yeah, that's at 5:30, so I'll be there to cover that game. Tuesday, I'll be at Lincoln again. It's going to be Lincoln and Rockland and boys volleyball. Lincoln's 1-1. I think Rockland is 4-0. I'm expecting Rockland to win and progress to 5-0 on the season. Wednesday, I'm most likely going to be going to Delaware to hit Oakmont Delaware boys volleyball. The Golden Eagles are 8-4 and led by junior Alex Kime. They also have the younger brother of McCool, who I think it's McKenna McCool, who graduated from Delaware 2021. I want to say maybe it was even 2022, but I'm expecting Delaware to win that game regardless and pick up the win. Thursday, I'm actually going to be off all day. And Jordan, I know you're going to be at the same place, and you can get into what you're planning on doing for it. But I'm going to be at Golden One Center all day watching some March Madness. I have never gotten a chance to go watch the NCAA tournament live, and I'm very happy that I'm going to be doing that on Thursday. So I'll be taking the day off to do that. Friday, I haven't made my decision yet, but I'm leaning towards right now most likely going to Granite Bay to catch Vista and Granite Bay boys volleyball at 7:30.
All right, impressive. Some big games coming up there, and like we said, volleyball is going to be a very popular sport this week, I think, with some of the rain coming on. Matt, what about you? Where are you checking out this week?
Well, Wednesday, Vista Girls softball travels to Ponderosa. That's generally Ponderosa's are a pretty good team, so that should be a good matchup, weather permitting. After that, Folsom Girls Lacrosse has a game at Bella Vista, so I'll probably swing over there after that softball game. And then Thursday, it looks like Vista Boys Baseball has a doubleheader against Sac High, 1:30 and 4. So I might catch one or both of those games. Not sure. I don't know how to phrase this. In years past, Sacramento does not have a very competitive baseball team, so those games are usually 10-run ruled. So, and then after that, I'll either hit Folsom Boys Lacrosse at home versus Whitney, or I told the rugby people, a couple of weeks ago that the head coach wanted me to go to see one of their practices because it's got all the levels, not just the high school people. So he wanted. I don't know if I'm going to do that because of all this weather situation, but yeah, that's an option. Friday, Aaron, I'm looking forward to this. Wood Creek is at Oak Ridge Baseball, so you said how good Wood Creek is. That'll be a good game. Saturday, Oak Ridge Girls Lacrosse. It says on their schedule that they're home at 9:30 a.m. It's a very early start time, but if that's true, I hope it is because that'll get me in and out of there. And then Folsom is again weather permitting. Folsom is a baseball game at 1 against McClatchy. And then next Monday, Vista Baseball home versus Del Campo, and then Monday night is kind of a big game. Vista Boys Lacrosse at Oak Ridge. That should be good.
All right. Hey, we got some big ones there. I know I am kind of in a little bit of a limbo at the moment with some sports. I know I want to hit some boys volleyball this week. I believe it's Tuesday. I got to double check. I'm pulling up MaxPost here. Yes, Tuesday. I'm hoping to hit Placer boys volleyball as they play El Dorado. It's going to be at El Dorado, so a little bit of a trek up the hill. But hey, we got to get some action in there. Placer boys volleyball, they're 2-1 on the year so far. And their roster, it's a lot of names you'd recognize from football season. Xander Esty, a big player on them. Let's see, Jaden Suggs, another big one for them. Sam Hurley, one of the top basketball players for the Hillmen there. So the Placer's looking like a solid team this year. They could be a fun team to watch in the FVL. Wednesday is another one. I'm hoping if weather permitting, we can get Colfax and 12 Bridges softball in. It would actually be not only the PVL opener for Colfax, it'd be their league opener or their season opener too. They haven't gotten to play yet, so hoping we get them in. And if they can, awesome. If not, I will be hitting Del Oro volleyball that night. I gotta look. I can't remember who they're playing. I want to say it's Oakmont, but I might be wrong. Or no, actually, Aaron, I think you were talking about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was like, I got in like a total system, and I was like, wait a minute, we already previewed this game because Aaron's talking.
Yeah, we'll figure it out too.
Well, hey, you know what, Aaron, that is your game, and on Wednesday, I'll say to be determined. We'll see where I'm gonna be. hopefully the weather's permitting and we get this softball game in. And after the brain fart, Aaron, you and I will be in the same place on Thursday. I'll be at March Madness as well. I actually applied for the passes originally when we thought a kid from Placer was going to be playing in the tournament, but they ended up going to the NIT. So I am going to be doing some regional coverage for our papers, just kind of rounding up who's in the tournament, whatnot. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a blast. And I'll be there Thursday and Saturday. Friday, again, weather permitting, I'm going to be checking out Del Oro and Pleasant Valley baseball in the afternoon. It's a game that got rescheduled from earlier in the year. If that works out, awesome. And if it doesn't, you know what? We'll, again, TBD on Friday. We'll see where I'm going to be. But it's also St. Patrick's Day, and it's my mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom, if you're watching. So, if I can't make it work on Friday, then, oh, well, it is what it is. But hopefully we get a busy week of sports this week. And if we don't, then, hey, we'll try again next week. Hopefully this rain goes away and we can finally start having some spring weather.
Agreed.
And I think that's going to just about do it for this week's episode of the Sports Jam. Before we get going, does anyone have anything we want to add?
Nothing I can think of right now, except for if we're keeping it regional, it's pretty amazing. I'm a Warrior fan. Admittedly, I'm a Warrior fan. Congratulations to the Kings. Any Kings fans out there? Kings got their 40th win of the season for the first time they've had a 40-win season since 2006. So that's pretty happy things for the entire Sacramento area. I think there. I still am hoping for a Warriors Kings first round because that would be very fun.
It would be fun. I think the Warriors are the one team I don't want to see in the first round for the Kings. I just don't like the way that matches up. But, if you guys want to feel really old, I was 10 years old the last time the Kings had 40 wins in a season. Even crazier, my youngest brother gets his driver's license on Saturday. He has never seen the Kings with a winning season or in the playoffs. So, hey. You know what? It's been a long time coming here in Sacramento, and I think I'm not being biased when I say I can't think of a fan base that deserves it more. So, Matt, what about you? We got anything we want to add, or are we?
Well, the only thing I want to add is I now that I'm looking at a bracket, I know who I picked Houston to beat in the finals, and that would be Baylor. So that's what.
All right, I like it. Give us an all Texas final. I like it. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. I've been Jordan.
I've been Aaron.
And I have been Matt.
We will see you next time.